I'm Dickie Carr, and I'll bet you'd never guess where I am. I'm right in the centre of London at London Zoo. As I look around me, right behind me is the Lord Snowdon Aviary. Now, being a fisherman, like most of us, I love the wildlife aspect of fishing, and to be able to look up and see so many different birds is an absolute pleasure to me. The towpath is absolutely spotlessly clean, which is a credit to the British waterways and of course the local councils. They seem to realise that so many people use the towpath. Today I'm going to try and catch a few fish on the bread punch. I've just caught one, and it's such a cheap way to fish. It will cost me well under £1 today to have a good day's sport. But let's have a look at the tackle that I'm going to use today. The pole I'm using is actually a 6 metre pole, but I'm using 4 metres to end, and the 4 metres I'm using are actually telescopic, which you can see. But the other 2 joints that I've got, which makes it up to 6 metres, are put in, just in case I want to go out a bit farther. But let's forget about those and concentrate on the pole. As you can see, it is a bit, well, to say the least, it's a little bit tatty. The varnish is coming off, but it's been a good pole to me. I've caught a lot of fish on it and I enjoy using it, and that's what it's all about. But let's get down to see, because a lot of people seem to say, how do you connect the line? What's the best way to connect the line onto a flick tip? Well, I've got a nice little easy method, really simple. If I throw the line out, that way we're going to get in no tangles, and take the pole behind me. Did you notice I had a quick look round just to make sure there was nobody walking along the bank, no bites coming along? We lay it there safely, and if I hold it up, you can see I've got what is called, it's a stompo connector. There's a special name for it, but I can't even remember what it is. In fact, I probably can't even say it. So, but when I go into the tackle shop, I know what I'm looking for. If you look, it's just a little bit of plastic that pushes onto the tip of the flick tip. We glue it on, and there's a little groove at the top, and the line comes up. Now, if I pull this little bit here, just give it a little gentle pull, it's off. It's easy as that. Now, how do we connect it, you're saying? Well, that's quite simple too. What I've got here, I've got 2 loops. I've got one big loop, which is probably 3 inches long. Then ½ an inch from the top, I've tied another loop. All you need to do is hold the bigger loop in between your 2 fingers and pass the line through. When you pass the line through, I'm just going to take the pole down a little bit because it is awkward holding it up in the wind. Just a nice little gentle pull. Make sure it goes in the groove. Nearly there. And it's on, and you can see you can pull really hard and it won't come off, but when you want it off again, just so simple, just pull the top loop and it's off. I know when I first started to use it, I honestly thought it was, I hope that don't come off when I'm fishing, but I can honestly say I've never had it come off while I've been fishing. Just put it back on again. So it's as simple as that. It doesn't take a moment. So now we go down more to the business end, but because I'm fishing bottom end to end, I want the line to go under the water. So what I've done, I'll hold the line again carefully, and as you can see, I've got the line back shotted with number 7 style leads. There's one there, and there's one just up there. Now, why I chose style leads instead of number 10s or 11s is because they're longer and thinner, and they go on the line neater, and give you a much easier cast, and I think they make the line sink better. And I've got 3 of them in between the float and the tip of the pole, the flick tip, which is useful for when you want to sink the line, because sometimes you get a nasty skim on the water and you want to get everything down under, out the way, and that's when it's useful to have these little style leads back shotting. Now the float, as you can see, I've got an adapter on again. I do like to use adapters, but normally I like to put little pieces of silicone on the line, but today, because I'm using only number 4 shots, I can't put the silicone on and make the shots hold properly, so I've got no silicone today. But if it was bigger shots, I would definitely put the silicone on. The float is peacock with a little cocktail insert. It's a float that I got off Ray Mills, and I'm very pleased with it. It's made a lot neater than I could make a float. So basically that's the float. I do too, if possible, only like to lock the float with just 2 shots because it's a lot neater. So now let's go down the line a little bit more. We come down to our style weights. Now, I've not got them spaced out normally like you have style weights spaced out. I've just got them probably a maximum of 15 inches from the hook to the top stiles. Now how I've got the stiles done, I've got 2 stiles, 4 inches below that I've got another 2 smaller stiles, 2 inches below that I've got a smaller stile, and another 2 inches below that I've got an even smaller stile. Below that we come to the hook length. Now I've got a very short hook length. It's probably about 6 to 8 inches long, and that hook length is 0.6 diameter line. It's the same as me other line, a nesty line, but in an 0.6 diameter, so that if I do happen to get caught on the bottom, when I pull, if I do happen to break, I only lose my hook length, and then it's just a matter of going to my box. I've got my hooks already tied and just whipping another one on the same length. But I've still, have you noticed, no shots whatsoever on my hook length, because when you use low diameter lines, if you start to squeeze shots onto them, or style weights, you do intend to weaken them slightly. So no shots on your hook length. Hooks. Now we come to hooks. Well, I myself think there's only 2 hooks that I like to use on the bread. One of them is what we call a kamikaze. Now, I probably haven't pronounced it properly, so I'm going to show you the packet to make it easy. Here we are. The number on the hook is 6311, and I like to use these in a size 20. They're a very fine hook, got a micro barb, and they're very sharp. And because they're fine, they're light. And again, presentation, as I've always liked to go on a little bit about, light hooks make the bait present better. But one little fault with these hooks, you have to be very careful when you're actually unhooking the fish, because they're a very brittle hook, but you can't have the best of both worlds. The other hook I'm going to talk about, I've got some here, is the Tubertini Series 2. Now these are a silver hook, where the one we've just been speaking about is a blue. These are slightly stronger hook, and I intend to use these Tubertini ones when I'm going to catch a lot of fish, when I'm catching quick, when I might be swinging fish to hand, than when I'm taking my time being really careful. So these are only the 2 hooks that I myself use on the bread punch. Now we've covered the fishing to hand with a telescopic pole. By the way, if I didn't mention it earlier, it is a Milo pole. So if I put the hook in the handle and lay it safely out of the way, what I intend to do now, before we go on to the other pole, my short line rig with my top and bottom floats, I'm just going to show you my layout. So I've placed the pole down. Now, as you can see, I've got my rod bag and my bait carrier on the edge of the path so that no wind or anything can blow anything in, and I can sit and relax, no worry about losing anything. The other thing is my bait stand. It's got adjustable legs, so I can always get it dead even, which of course I've got no need to today. And it's got everything at hand. I've got all my little essentials that I'm going to need. My style weights, my hooks and my disgorgers, all my little bits and pieces that I might need. I've got my hemp seed, which I'm just going to feed a tiny bit later on when we start fishing. I've got my breadcrumb, and now we come to the real business end, the end that where the bread punches and my punch board. We'll have a quick look at my punches first. Now my punches, I've got two here, two different size ones, and also a couple of other screw-in attachments if I decide I want to use bigger or smaller punches. But these ones, I was lucky someone made them for me and gave them to me, one of my mates, Billy Hughes in fact, and they're very shallow, but there's a lot of punches in the shops. There's some very good punches about, ones that you can buy, reasonable price. But now, what makes a good punch? I think what makes a good punch, it's got to be shallow. And if you look at my punches, I would say they're no more than 1/8 of an inch in depth. Because they're so shallow, when you actually press them into the bread, give them a quick little twist round and take them out, and the bread is really pressed tightly into the punch. Sometimes I might even just press it with my finger. Oh, it's come out. Just press it with my finger, and then you get a nice, and it really is compressed. It's perfect for putting on the hook, and when you cast out, it doesn't come off. I can remember when I started punch fishing, the biggest trouble was the bread coming off, but with the shallow punches, it's cured it. So here's my two punches. I'll put them back. I've even got little holes around the side of my bread punch board to stick my punch in so I can get hold of them easy. So if I put that back, and then we come actually to the punch board himself. I'll take the bread punches off it and I'll show it to you. It's roughly the shape of a slice of bread. It's got my little holes in the side for putting my punches on, and it's very solid. You must have a firm base for when you punch your bread. So we put that down. I must admit, I have been laughed at a few times for this little bit of equipment, but I think it's a useful little item to have with you. Right, now let's get fishing. First thing we have to do is plumb the depth. So we'll just put, I'm not going to use a plummet because I've got such a nice soft flick tip. A plummet wouldn't be quite right, so I'm just going to use an SA shot. I'm just going to clip it onto the line, down to the hook, and I'm going to plumb the depth. Now, that's a little bit too shallow at the moment, so I'm going to come up, I'm going to put a little bit of depth on. I've got to take my time moving the shots because I've not got no silicone on there, so we'll do that. Out we go again. Then that's no, it's still just a little bit out. I thought I could just see the float under the surface. If I just go another couple of inches. Out we go again. We should be about right now, I reckon. Yeah, if you can see, I'm looking and the float's not showing, but I can just see the float about 2 inches under the water, and that's what you want. When you fish the bread punch, it's one of the few baits that we don't start on the bottom with. I like to start normally about 2 inches off bottom, and then I either go up or down depending on whether I slow down, or just depends on how the fish are behaving, on how I alter the depth. But normally 2 inches is good starting depth, 2 inches off bottom. So if we take the shot off, put that down, I'm just going to hook the hook in the end of the pole a second, because I'm just going to show you my ground bait. Put that in between my legs. Now the ground bait, I've wetted it very, very gently, just added a little bit of water to it, mixed it in, and to make sure there was no lumps, because you don't want no lumps in it because it might fill the fish up a little bit quicker, I just run it through a sieve. I just shook it through a sieve, and any lumps that were left in I threw onto the towpath, and it didn't take long before the birds were down eating them, which today I must admit I've had cold ticks, robins, everything eating the crumbs that I put on the towpath. So it's nice to see the birds getting a feed as well. The ground bait, as I said, it's very dry and been sieved, just a little bit of water in with it. If I throw it down the edge, you'll see it's floating for just a second. Now it's gone down, and as it's going down, it's breaking up. It's breaking into a lovely cloud. How can the fish resist that, eh? Right, let's see if we can catch something now. Here we are. I've got my nice punch ball that I mentioned, nice and solid. Twist it round. Out of my 2 punches, I'm starting off on the smallest of the 2 punches. My particular punches have got no grooves in them, and I just twist the punch round and the bread comes out nicely on the hook. Just push it round. That's lovely. Put it back in its groove. Out we go. Now I've cast out, I've got the line, and I've just touched the tip of the pole under the water, just a quick little jerk, and all the line's under now. It's all away from the skim and any ripple, and it makes the float stay nice and still. One thing I have learned when I've buried a line, sometimes if the line's dead straight, it's harder to sink than when there's a slight bow on it. Why? I don't know, but it always sinks easier when it's a slight bow on it. Right, let's see if we can catch. We just get a small piece of ground bait, not too big, and I'm going to try and put it just round my float. See how accurate I can feed. Just right. See, it just floated for a little while, and now it goes down. One thing I will mention about punch fishing differs in the way to other methods of fishing, that you always catch fish straight away on punch. How I look at it, if you don't catch a fish normally in the first 5 or 10 minutes, you're not going to catch one. And it's funny how this punch method works like that. Do you know, I believe I had a touch just then, I did. Look at that, amazing. Here we come. Ain't it amazing? That's not been in the water no more than a minute and we go and catch one. It's only a little fish, but it's amazing. I'm just sitting here saying you get a fish straight away. We'll start off again, another whole bit of punch. Sometimes I just touch it with the top of my thumb, just like that. Up the centre of the hook, spin it round. Let's go, out we go again. Out we go. Again, just the tip of the rod, just a little jerk and the line's out the way. Normally, when we fish in the winter, with feeding, you normally just put two balls in at the start and you don't feed. Whereas last year I used to keep feeding all the time, but I don't know what it is. I think so many people using the punch now that you need to lose less bait than you normally do. Oh, there's another bite. Look at this. Can't believe it. They're like peas in a pod, aren't they? Hey? God dear. Just give me hands a wipe on my towel. Out we go again. What I'm going to do in a moment, I'm going to have one more cast with this. Twist it round, out it come. I'm going to have one more cast, and then I'm going to use my bigger punch and put a bigger piece of bread on and see if we can catch a bigger fish. There's a bit of commotion behind me. An elephant! I reckon it's looking for the circus somewhere. I reckon I must have been over a leaf there. Let's just go out again. Don't always remember, just a little gentle flick, and I'm just going to feed a couple of grains of hemp. Just a couple of grains. There we go. Just taking his settings now. There we go. That's a little bit bigger, that one, just slightly bigger. Being as we've caught that one a little bit bigger, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use my slightly bigger punch. That's better. There we go. There we go. Little dip of the rod, get the line buried. Just give a little weeny touch of ground bait again this time. One of the advantages of the canals here is it's nice and deep. We've just had a narrow boat go by and there's no mud come up off the bottom at all. There's no doubt about it. They've done a great job on the canals here, and I'm more than happy. Oh, we'll just go out a little bit further again. Bread's still on. Out we go. Just dip the line under. And a couple of grains of hemp. Just take, as you see, when you fish these bottom end floats, you can see them, you can see the shots going down, and if you do get a bite on the drop, you can always notice it. But it's just starting to rain a little bit now. I thought the weather was too good. Come on fish, feed. We know there's plenty of you down there. Oh, here we go. Another one. Not quite as big as last time. Still a lovely little roach. Beautiful little fish. Let's unhook it gently and pop it into the net. Now let's go out again. Give my hands a quick wipe. Big punch. Give it a little press in, make it nice and firm. And out we come. There we go. Out we go again. Let's see if we can catch another one. In we go. It settles. Now I haven't mentioned what bread I use. Now I like a thick slice. I think a thick slice compresses a lot more than the medium or the thin slice. So always use a thick slice. And steaming it. Now that's important. One of the most important things with punch fishing. What I do, I've been bathed in the kitchen because I steam up the window and the tiles, so I get relegated to my shed. All I do, I boil the kettle up and hold the bread on a knife over the steam just for about 15 seconds each side. When I've done the 4 slices, the first 2 I cut in half and put them in a polythene bag, so I've got 4 slices wrapped away. The other two I roll with a rolling pin, not too hard, just roll them reasonably firm, cut them in half and pop them in a polythene bag, and that's enough for a day's fishing. Looks like a bite. I'll have to be pretty quick this one, I can just see a boat coming along. Oh, look at that, I timed that just right. Just got it out, just before the boat came along. Nice little roach, probably an ounce and a half. Let's unhook it gently. Into the net we go. Thank you. Thank you. That's nice when the boat's slowed down for you like that, because there's plenty of room on the canal for both of us, and that was nice, that was. Out we go again. We're still using the bigger punch. Just a quick look, make sure there's no one coming along. I looked up and I see a bite coming in the distance, so if I get another quick bite, I'll have to remember to have a quick look round. Out we go. I'm just going to flick a few grains of hemp. I'll have to just fire a few grains of hemp with the catapult. Just a couple of three, that's all. Just round the float. Whoops. Oh, here we go. That's another one. Oh, look at the old elastic, that's lovely. It's only a small fish, but the elastic's pulled out a few inches. They seem to be feeding very well now, the fish. That bite just went past earlier on, so I was lucky. Cool, it's a nice fish. I should have really netted it. Let's pop it in the net. Off we come. Nice and gently in the net. So let's have a look what we've caught today. Let's move my seat out of the way. And here we go. Here we come. That's not a bad day's sport. Let's put them back nice and careful. Well, that's what it's all about. I'm Dickie Carr, and I'm here today at King's Cross on the Regent's Canal. You just see me, I've just caught a cracking roach, and I'm sure we're going to catch a few more. A little bit of luck, we may even catch a few bream, but for that fishing, I think we've got to thank the British Waterways. They've done a tremendous job on the canals. The towpaths are clean, the actual canal is in perfect condition, and considering we're right in the middle of London, all the inner city canals at the moment are in tip-top condition. Just up there is St Pancras Station, and down to the right we've got Camden Town. But I've chose to fish today in front of the post office building. I know from experience that this is a very good area, and I'm confident that we're going to catch a few fish today. So let's go straight now and have a look at the tackle that we're going to be using today. We'll start off with a rod. Now the rod, I myself have been lucky enough to help to design with Leslie de Luton. As you can see, it's a cork handle. Now I prefer cork handles, maybe because I'm old-fashioned, but I just like cork handles. I've always used them and they've never let me down. And the real fittings, plastic fittings, just straightforward plastic fittings. In the winter, I think much easier on the hands. Don't get cold hands. Beautiful. The rod itself, well, as you can see, it's a blue carbon. It's a module carbon blue. And colour doesn't make any difference. It's 11 foot long and it's nice and easy to handle. It casts the float out nice, and I know a lot of people have 12 foot rods, 13 foot rods, but for canals I like an 11 foot. Today, as you can see, where I'm fishing, it's a little bit wider, but when we go up to the Midland canals and some of the local canals near around Luton and round where I live, the canals may only be 12 metres wide. Then you need a shorter rod, an 11 foot rod comes into its own. Now we come to the reel. The reel I'm using is a Shimano Hera match. It's probably the most expensive match reel on the market, but again, I believe you only get what you pay for. If you buy the best, you get the best, and quite honestly, in the end, it does work out cheaper because it lasts you longer. As you can see, the clutch is right on the back here. Myself, I just tighten it up as tight as I can and completely forget about it, because I like to play my fish with the handle. I like to back wind, and this is where a nice smooth reel comes into his own. And this reel is smooth, but why? Well, they tell me inside we've got all these special ball bearings and that, but I'm not at all mechanical minded, and to be honest, I don't understand it at all. All I know is it works well, and that's the important thing. So let's get on to some other features about the reel that make it a good reel. The spool, for a start. As you can see, it's a very wide spool. They tell me that the line goes on again in some special way. All I know is that it comes off nice and easy when you cast, and to me that's the important thing, and that's what matters. So no more said about that. The other things about the spool, most of the spools you have to put backing on, but with this one you don't. All I've got on there, because it's a lovely shallow spool, is 200 yards of 1.7 line, and as you can see it's right to the top. So that saves me a little bit of work in putting the backing on and getting everything right, which I normally find to get everything just right a bit awkward. The other useful thing is the top of the spool is so smooth, there is absolutely nowhere at all where the line can get caught and cause any tangles or any interference while fishing, so that's another plus. The bow arm, as you can see, if I hold it, it's a very short distance, so even with my little fingers I can hold the bow arm, and if I happen to strike and a good fish runs off, all I need to do is just ease my finger away and let the reel run out nice and smooth, and then just re-finger when it decides it's slowing down, and then I've got perfect control. So now we come to the line. Well, lines, there's so many lines on the market that everybody's got their own favourite line. Myself, I've always used Bayer. Ever since I was a youngster, I can't remember how long ago that was, but I've got a lot of confidence in Bayer. It's never let me down, so there's no point or no reason whatsoever to change. Right, the float. As you can see, I'm using one that I made myself, and I've tried to camouflage it a little bit, but to be perfectly honest, just rotten painting, but it looks nice anyway. Well, I think it does. But before we look at the float, we'll look at the adapter. Now, a float adapter, a small little item of tackle, only costs a few pence, but I think myself, when you're float fishing, a float adapter is one of the most useful little bits of equipment you can buy. If I just take the float off quick, and if I want to, I can change just through that and just slip another one back on. A little thing I always do, just a little tip, just put it in your mouth, wet it, see how much easier the adapter slides on. So easy, a real useful little bit of equipment. But the float, this one that I'm using today is a 2AA Peacock Waggler. I love Peacock. Again, it's the most reliable of all the floats. Over the years, I would say Peacock has been used more than any other material for making floats. Going back when I was a youngster, I can even remember I used to go up the zoo and I was always round the peacock aviary trying to see if I could pull a bit of peacock or get hold of a bit of extra peacock, and that's going back a long time, I can tell you. And I've just got a very small insert, a thick insert. This one, I've put this float on today because I do intend to drag along the bottom, to drag over depth, so of course I want a thick insert. And so really basically that is that float, just a thick insert, all peacock. Now on different conditions you need different floats. So just let's have a quick look at 2 or 3 other floats that you're liable to need on a canal. Well, we'll start off first with my favourite, this one here. As you can see, that's well made, but I've got to admit I never made this one. I scrounged it. Well, when I say scrounged it, I scrounged it off Ray Mills, but over the years I've given him so much blood and joker, I think he felt a bit guilty and made me a few floats. But I do love this float. It works well, and the top of it does look nice as well. But let me just tell you, it's peacock, nice peacock stem which takes 2 AAs, and it's inserted with a cocktail stick. Now the cocktail stick is reversed, so you've got the thin end going into the float and the thicker end at the top, which again, this is lovely for fishing on the drop. You can see your fishes, your bites on the drop, and also you can see your lift bites. You can see the lovely lifts on them. So really it's one of my favourite floats. It's, to be honest, it's the sort of float that if you lose you jump in for it. You break my heart if I lost that one. So let's put it away, let's put it safely so the wind don't catch it. And now we come on to this one. It's a similar float, it's the crystal Drennan crystal float. It does much the same job as the other one, but as you can see it's crystal, so in clear water I love to use these floats. I think they work very well, and of course the fish can't see them. So I'm not going to say too much about this float because it speaks for itself and it acts a lot similar to the one I just put down, but very good in clear water. So now let's go on to the shotting patterns, and here we are. I'm going to start off with the AAs that I've got locking the float. Now if you look very closely you can see that I've got 2 pieces of silicone rubber that I threaded onto the line and locked the shots on. Now there's 2 major advantages, I'll show you them. Number one, when you want to alter the depth, look at that, that's lovely, isn't it? You can move the shot so easily, it does make life a lot easier. It has got to be better than having to loosen them with your fingernails or your teeth and moving up and down, so that is a plus. Now the other advantage of this of course is when you cast. You get the odd occasion when we get a bad headwind and we really have to whack the float out, and sometimes when you whack the float out the shots come apart and the float wobbles, which honestly is no good for casting. So, but for some reason when you've got this silicone it never happens, so that is a plus. Right, well I've got a straightforward simple shotting pattern. All I've got down the line is 3 number 11 shots and I've got them spaced evenly. Now that is a straightforward simple pattern, and quite honestly I think myself it's impossible to tangle using this shotting pattern. No matter how you cast it just never seems to tangle, so that has got to be a plus. Now the only time I will alter that shotting pattern is if I want to drag along the bottom for bream and make the bait more stable, and by doing that all you need to do then is just alter this bottom shot down a few inches and then pull this other number 11 down next to the other one. But there's one other important little trick, again it's all to make sure you don't get any tangles, is to hold the bottom shot, and when you hold the bottom shot get the hook and push the hook, and if you look there the hook is just a little bit shorter than the bulk shot. Now being like that, that makes it less chance of tangling. I'm not going to say it's completely tangle proof, but there's less chance of tangling, so that's a useful little tip to remember with any float you're using. Right, now we've gone from the shotting pattern, let's go to the hook length, the line we're going to use, and the hook, which to my way of thinking is very important. So let's have a look. The line I'm using, just for a second, I'll just hook the hook back on the rod, out the way, and I'll show you the line that I use. I've got some here handy. Now the line I'm using is a Nesty Special. This line here is 06. Now I can remember a little while back, a few years back, lines used to come in 10 ounces, 12 ounces, £1 and 1/7, but now most of the lines, especially these foreign lines, come in diameters. Now this is an 06 and it's the same thickness as the 12-ounce line, which breaks, I think it breaks at about £1, so I'm very impressed with that line. I've been using it quite a while now and it's not let me down. So now let's have a look at the hook. Now the hook I use is another thing that you've got to have confidence in. I've got some just did under here. Here we come. Is a Nesty hook again. You'll say I'm a Nesty mad, but I've got great confidence in. Now they're the hooks. What are they called? They're Series 8. Now a couple of advantages about these hooks. They've got a micro barb, which is something that I like to have, just a micro barb. A very sharp hook that doesn't go blunt very often, but the biggest plus is it's got a very, very small spade on the hook. And if you've got a small spade, there's less chance of it cutting the line, and of course it keeps the weight of the hook down. So that's the hook I've been using. Now I'm going to start with casters, simply because casters is my favourite bait. I think we've all got a bait we enjoy using more than others and we like using, and casters is mine. Other baits I've got is red maggot. Now red maggots, red baits, for some reason fish just seem to like red baits. As I've said, casters are red, maggots are red, worms are red, and red is the in bait. I mean, we've got red squats. So we've looked at the maggots, let's have a look at the other baits we've got. We've got the red squats. Again, I've had to put the lid on all my baits because it's, as you see, it's a rotten old rain at the moment and the baits are liable to crawl out if we don't put the lids on. So we've got the squats and we've got pinkies. We've mentioned all the baits. Now let's have a look at the ground bait we're going to use today. Right, the ground bait I'm using, I've already mixed it up, and in here I've got Super Cup and Special. Now Super Cup and Special, I think myself, without any doubt, is the in-ground bait on the Canal. It mixes absolutely perfect, and quite honestly, Super Cup and Special go together like bread and cheese. They just go perfect together. But what you've got to remember is, I've already put some pinkies and some squats in here, so before you decide to throw it in, give it a mix. Give it a nice mix round with your hand, because the old pinkies and the squats tend to go to the bottom of the bowl. Now, if you get hold of the ground bait, if you can squeeze it into a nice ball, if your ground bait's mixed up right, you should just better go like that and it all breaks up. That tells you the ground bait's perfect. But always give it a good old mix up before you decide to get a ball in your hand and squeeze it. And if I throw it in the edge, you can see what a lovely cloud we get off this ground bait. Just enough to hold it together. Just pop it into the edge. Look at that, that's a lovely cloud. See, it's just breaking, that's perfect. How can the old fish say no to that? But that's enough said about baits. Let's get down now to the real business of catching some fish. Right, we're going to put a red maggot on to start with. Just a single red maggot. Now how I intend to fish it today, I'll just throw out and I'll tell you while we get everything underway. Bury the line. I'm just going to fish the middle to start with. So all I intend to do, I can fish the middle with ground bait with a few squats in it and red maggot on the hook, and all the time I'm going to be firing a few casters 3/4 of the way across, with the hope of picking up some better fish as the day goes on. we'll put the ground bait in first. One thing, give it a good old mix. Make sure we get the squats that have gone down to the bottom and the pinkies. Just a little ball. And out we go. Oh, lovely. Perfect. Right on top of the float that was. And just a few casters now. 3 out of there. 3 out of there. Lovely. Right, let's get down. I don't know how long we're going to have to wait for a bite today, but with a little bit of luck, it shouldn't be too long. Little nudge. It's not too far out with fishing. I reckon we can just about reach that too with just a few loose feed squats as well. So just try a few loose feed squats. Not too many, just a few, just to try and get the smaller roach interested. Another little movement, just pull the float back gently and you get another drop through again. Oh, missed that one. That's definitely a bite. Just pull the float back a bit. Let's see if the maggot's marked. Yeah, must have been a little roach. Just the end of it. Just the end of it is nipped. Let's try another one. I'd just like to put the hook just through the skin, in between the 2 eyes, just so that you've got plenty of wiggle in the maggot. Do a nice little sideways cast. Lovely, put it down. Now what I intend to do, I bury it. I've not pulled it back so far as last time. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get myself a little piece of ground bait. Just squeeze it, not too hard. I'm going to fire it out. With a bit of luck, it should just go about a yard short of the float. Perfect. Now, I'm going to pull it back a little bit more. Now that's right in the middle of the cloud now. That should get a bite if it goes to plan. Look at that. I was just going to nudge it and it went away. Aha! Now this does feel like a better fish. I'm not going to say it, but I'm hoping it could be a bream. It feels like it. Oh dear, take your time with this one. The last thing you want to do is to lose one. If you lose one, you can spook the whole shoal. Come on, take your time here. Now look, have you noticed, see, look, I'm back winding, the fish is running. See how nice and easy? That's it. Just take me time, no rush. I'm just sitting here enjoying every minute of this. Lovely. Is it a bream? It is, yeah, it's a bream, lovely. Here it comes. Here it comes. Oh, it's a lovely bream. Over we come. Here we go. Gently does it. Oh, there we go. I'll lay the rod on the rest for this one. Lovely. Do you know, that's funny. I was just thinking of going on to the caster. That's really made me mind up now. Let's put it off. Turn the fish round. We don't want to hurt it. Take the hook out. Get it out of the way. Look at that. That's a lovely fish, that one. That's got to be about a pound, I reckon. Beautiful. Gently in the net. Lovely. Right. Oh dear, I'm keen now. Let's get the caster on. Let's get the caster on. There we are. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bury a caster right in the hook out of the way. We'll have one of these. I'm taking one of these casters that we said stand on their head because that'll counteract the weight of the hook. And that'll make it act more naturally when we're on the bottom. There we go. Wow. Lovely. Let's get out there again. A little bit further this time. A little sideways cast. Out we go. Lovely. Let's bury the line. I buried the line. That's perfect. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to bother with any more ground bait in the middle. I'm just going to concentrate loose feeding casters. There we go. I don't know, it's nice. I think it's just started to run a little bit. I reckon there must be a few boats, a boat coming along or something, because it's just started to run. But that's dragging through perfect at the moment. There we go. Looks like it's... Oh, beautiful. I think we've got another one. Does it? Feels like another bream. Really does. Lovely. Right, here we come. I think it's a bream. Feels like a bream. It's a good fish. It's a good fish. It's what we call a caster fish. It really is. Always a little bit bigger than the others. Here we come, up we come. No, it's a good roach. Oh, it's a beauty. It's probably about 12 ounces by the looks of things. Whoops, come here. Come to Dickie, come on. In we come. Take me time with it. I'm not going to lose this one. Look at that. That's a beauty. That's it. Lovely. Put that down. Oh, it's a beautiful roach. Not quite. Probably about 10 ounces. I was exaggerating a bit, 12 ounces. Put the net out of the way. Look at that. I think myself, if you was to ask most hangers what their favourite fish are, a lot of people would say roach. Look at that, that's a beautiful fish. Lovely condition, beautiful. What we call a proper caster roach, beautiful. In we go, nice and gently in the net. Definitely another caster on the hook now. Let's threadle another one out of here. As we go. All the way on, out we go again. Let's go. Right, same place with a bit of luck. Beautiful. Bury the line. That's sitting there lovely. And mustn't forget, always keep feeding, little and often. Go. Just a few. That's 7 casters. If the fish really started to feed, and then of course I'd put a lot more bait in, but at the moment we're just going to go steady because the fish are feeding really confident at the moment. Oh, in again. Yeah, this does feel like a good fish, this one. Oh, see how I'm back winding. Yeah. Oh, I've just seen it. It is a bream this time. It's a beauty. Let's just take me time with it again. No rush. We've got all day. I don't want to lose it. Let's put my hand on the top of the bow arm. If it does make a sudden run, I can just take my finger off and let it go. See, like that, it just went to go down. It's a lovely fish. Look at that lovely action on the rod, eh? Oh dear. It's starting to rain really hard now, but when you're catching fish like this, the last thing you worry about is the weather. Oh, there she comes. Look at that. That's a beauty. That's the biggest one up to the... Oh, don't lose it now. That's the biggest one today yet. I've got a feeling there's a few out there now. There's a few feeding fish out there. Let's get it in. Oh dear, look at that. That must be 1.5 pounds. That'll be 1.5 pounds, that one. Come here. Take the hook out gently. Don't want to damage it. Oh, it's really hooked in the hard piece of the mouth, that one. Only a little hook, so I've got to be careful. There we go. Look at that, that's a beauty. Biggest fish today, that one. What a beautiful fish, eh? Well, it's a good time now without a bite. We'll give it a little while long. If I don't catch, I'm going to definitely come in and go on the bomb. Just, yeah, it is really pulling through now. That's it. Let's have a go on the bomb. All I've got is a straight paternoster rig. If I hold it in my hand like that, you can see. Probably 8 or 9 inches with a bomb. So just a straight paternoster. The hook length, it's only just about 2'6". No need to go any longer because well, we've only got 3.5 to 4 foot of water, so keep it nice and easy, nice and simple. Let's get out and see if we can catch a fish. What I'm going to do first is going to put a single caster on. That's it, single caster. I haven't said it yet, told you before, but you can see I've got me rod handle laying just out a little bit from the bank, and that acts as a perfect rod rest. That should just be in the right position to take the tip about 6 inches off the water. Just a nice little gentle sideways cast. Lovely. As soon as it goes down, just put the tip under the water, let the line come off gently, and then just pull it. I like to move the bomb about 6 inches, and that straightens the paternoster out so that I can see every bite. There we are. I just put the clutch on, and as soon as I hook a fish, I'll take it off. As you can see, the tip's about just a few inches from the water. If I just give the line a pull, I'll just show you how soft that tip is. Look at that. You can't miss but see every bite on that. Just while that's settling, I'm just going to fire just a few casters over. 3 from there, 3 from there. There they go. There we go. Look at that. It's not been out there long at all. That's a bite straight away. It's a nice fish. It's just shot into the edge now. It's just shot into the bank there. Now it's going out. I can hear it. Oh, it's a roach. Oh, that's a lovely caster roach. Under you go. There we are. Lay the rod down. That's a beauty. That really is a lovely fish, that one. Oh, look at that. Let's put the net safely out of the way. That really is a beauty. That's got to be every bit of 8 ounces. Oh, what a lovely fish. Hey, put it in gently. Being as I caught a roach that time, I'm going to put double caster on this time. Let's put 2 on. 1, 2. Right, let's have another go out there. Look at that. Look, look, look. Oh, there we go. Oh, lovely, lovely. I would say this one's a bream. It's definitely a good fish. Beautiful, beautiful fish. Let's put that there. Well, I can hear, I'll put that one there, out of the way. Well, I can hear the hum of the traffic. So that means it's getting near going home time for me. I've had a fantastic day's sport. I've had bream, I've had roach. I've even had the odd perch. And when you consider we're right in the middle of London, not far from King's Cross Station, and we've got fishing like this, I can honestly say today I've caught more fish than I have at days when I've been in Ireland. That's how good it is here. So let's have a look at what we've caught today. Just move my seat over out the way. Let's have a look what we've caught.